Council Activities Briefing for the 25th of March. We'll call for apologies. We've got one for lateness from Phil Everest, and Julie's on her way. Apart from that, we're going to be all good numbers-wise. And first up, information systems. Welcome to Gordon. Morning, Gordon. Anything to add to your report?
Good morning, councillors. No, nothing to add. I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. It's morning, Gordon. It's not in the report, but we all know we had a few problems with the microphones last week. Just checking in that our system's okay, good going forward.
Through the chair, yes, very frustrating for all. We've been doing some work on that. We have made some changes. The proof will be in the pudding. I'm not relaxed yet. So.
Councillor Wilson.
Gordon, yesterday we had a meeting in the branded doctoral room, and it was an external group, but it was a shareholder, and RDR, which is part of the council, as a shareholder, and we couldn't do live streaming on it because the technology was slightly different to what we'd expected. Can we look into that so that in the future, if anybody perhaps in the council wishes to have a meeting in that room, they can do live streaming, much easier than it became quite a difficult process?
Yeah, through the chair. We try to make it as smooth as we can. There's always variables, unfortunately. So can definitely look into it. But I would state now that it's unlikely to be 100% foolproof because of a variety of devices. Plus, also certain organisations put controls on their devices which prevent the sort of setup that's required. But we'll certainly look into that.
One from me, Gordon. Cyber security. Who does our security audits?
So through the chair, we signed up through Algam to a security framework and audit based on that framework. To see where we are, our maturity. It's a framework which is a global. It's internationally recognised. I was actually talking to Canterbury IT managers yesterday, and there is about 30 to 40 councils on this scheme. So it's an outfit from the North Island that we audit. You can self-audit, which we do, but we also get biannual audits face to face because we like to check that our checks are good.
Nice. Yeah, Liz.
Thank you. Just regarding the new digital solution to the grants and funding applications, so how's that going to work? And is that for all grants and funding? So I'm just thinking that you've got Methven Community Board have got their discretionary fund, and then you've got creative communities and all those. So is that, and how does it work?
Through the chair, I don't know if Tony is here. No. So to my knowledge, that the grant rounds that are run in September and this time of year will all go through that system. But there's always, I'd imagine that there's always, exceptions, to the rule if people cannot use that. But that's the main purpose, and all grants will go through that. That's my understanding.
So it's going to make applying for grants easier?
Yeah, most definitely, and also the back end work that's required in assembling the information that's received and to bring that to the panels that make the decisions.
Yep, cool, thank you.
Any further questions? That's it. Thanks, Gordon. Up next, property, and Renee. Hi, Renee.
Good morning.
Anything to add to your report?
We've just had a change to the elderly person's housing. So instead of 3 units being renovated, it's now 2. And we have tenanted 2 units, so the one that was ready and the one that's just been finished.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Hi, thank you. Can you tell me, please, can you tell me, please, just the split between double and single units? Oh, in the elderly person's housing.
I can, just not offhand. I'll get that to you. Yeah.
Mealis.
Thank you. Just under the airport on page 9, you've got the YAK 52 team for warbirds are going to be coming in and out to the airport. So is that prior to them heading down to Wanaka, and is that going to be something that people can go along and watch? Because I'm sure there'll be a few enthusiasts that aren't going to Wanaka who might want to see these planes in action.
It's been quite neat because they've done this the last few years, and so we have had quite a few of the community go out and watch that practice. So we do expect some of them to be doing some of that practice, but there might just be some coming in to fuel up on their way down.
Councillor Wilson.
I'm not revisiting a previous motion of council, just to be very clear on that. But the Ashburn Business Estate, ironically, after we'd made that motion the other day, councillor, we weren't going to pursue different sales options. We're going to continue down the same path. I had a ring from a landowner out there that unsolicited call too, that said, why isn't the council doing more to sell properties out there? And he told me how he was interested in buying somebody, felt that he was struggling to get any traction with anybody to talk to him. So I will be bringing that further. And the second part was the former Polytech Cameron. It says that the project is expected to be completed by end of March. The contingency has been well managed. Does that mean it's zero?
So there was risk that we knew because we couldn't actually get to the asbestos underneath in the boiler room, which was beneath the building. So when we found the additional asbestos, what we've done is we have had to manage the project carefully, where we've taken out the asbestos, then we've done a little bit more demolition, and then taken out some more asbestos. So the way that it's been managed has reduced the amount of waste having to go to a higher grade landfill, because we've been able to split between the asbestos removal and just the demolition works. So it's within what we were anticipating for that risk that we couldn't quantify because we couldn't access that area.
So did we use up all the contingency, or did we not use it up money-wise?
We have used part of the contingency, but it's still within the budgeted amount. And just in reference to your first point, we would love to hear from that person, so if you can pass that details on. We do have the drone. We had a couple of delays with the drone flight. So the first one was delayed because we had vandalism and we needed the grass to recover, and the second was delayed yesterday due to the fog. So the weather's not looking that great until the end of next week, but we are working on that as we speak.
I know it's a commercial. One more question, please.
Sure.
Mr. Chair. I know it's a commercial decision, but what ballpark figure do you make on a commission on selling industrial land? What percentage do you make? What ballpark? I'm not saying we have to say, but is it 10%? Is it 1%? Is it 0.5%? What's
3%?
3%. Okay, thank you.
While you're talking about drones, just quickly, do we do the drone footage, or who does that?
Through the chair, that's through our comms team, so they've organised for the drone footage to be taken.
So they're doing it, the comms team, or is it outside?
I'm actually not sure. We've organised it through them, and I think they're doing another job at the time.
Thanks. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just with regards to the former Polytech site, now going to be a car park, so obviously nearly finished. So when are the meters and that going in so that we can actually use it as a car park?
I'll leave that to Mr.
Yeah, through the chair, we're making progress to order the meters now. I believe there was about a 3 or 4 week turnaround. I've actually just asked Mr. Catchpole that, so perhaps we can update later in the session. But we're aiming to be ready very, very soon after the work that property are doing are finished.
Yep. So are we well on track now with the finish of the demolition and then the shingling of the area?
We are.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just following on from that, we've had emails from people that want a sealed shingling of the area for various mobility. They want some of it sealed for various mobility reasons. Is this packed shingle suitable for wheelchairs and crutches and stuff? Oh, not so much stilts. Crutches. Oh, I spoke again, goodness. Yeah.
Through Mr Chair, we're simply giving effect to council's decision to have a gravel car park. So
Have a gravel, yeah,
gravel
that's
car
right,
park.
yeah.
So individuals will decide whether that suits them or not.
Okay, I understand. I'm not asking to revisit it. I just want to know, like, we've got that. Is it the same stuff as in the domain that opposite Rosebank? There's a path that's quite a hard sort of compressed shingle. No.
It'll be very similar to what we've got on site already.
Oh, so it's a loose shingle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions, councillors? No, thanks, Renee. Up next, finance. Question mark, Gordon?
Let us find out while you reshuffle the agenda, Mr Chair.
Mine's working.
I'll just away again. Thank you. Rightio, solid waste management. And Justin, is there anything to add to your report?
If I can just kick
hi,
off,
Neil.
just introduce Justin Bloomfield to some of the councillors that probably haven't met Justin. Justin is now our solid waste manager. He's coming up to 10 years with council and has been working in the solid waste minimisation area. So as part of our Three Waters internal business unit being sort of ring fenced, Hernando is now going to be focusing purely on Three Waters, and that's enabled Justin to step up as the solid waste manager. So have you got any questions for Justin?
I have one, Justin. After our visit to Cape Valley, the waste compaction that we do, is that on site in a pit, and is it then compacted into the things that go on the back of the truck, because they're all sealed, right, when they head off? So is it, can you tell me how that works?
Yep. So, the rubbish gets put into the pit. It essentially is just pushed with a loader into our compactor, which fills up the pods, your truck pod and then your trailer pod. And then they're just collected by Cape Valley. They head off that way. So, we're essentially a transfer station, so no landfill or anything anymore.
Yeah, I realise that. I just wondered if the compacting was done in the pit or actually in the container that goes off to Cape Valley.
Yeah, the compactor and the container are essentially one thing. So you put your container on the compactor, push all the material into the middle, and it's essentially just a plunger goes backwards and forwards and pushes it until it's up to weight.
Thank you. Congratulations, Justin. Just while we were at Cape Valley also, and we learnt that there's now a lower rate for building waste, but we're obviously not set up that way where we are at the moment. Are we going to look at that and achieve some of those savings by somehow separating out building waste to our general rubbish?
Yep. Yeah, good question. We've done one load already, so it was more of a test. So that was last month. We got 6.3 tonnes in the one load. So essentially your C&D waste is probably going to be lighter But yeah, we've done one already as a bit of a test, so there is a good saving with that if we can get more of those.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, Justin. Just on page 17, it says in the commentary that Wasteco are proposing that community groups be offered the opportunity to run the shop on weekends. So that's obviously when Wasteco come into the contract in September, October. So how will they advertise that? Like how will groups be able to have their turn, I guess, in the weekends?
Yeah, so we're still in negotiations about that. So yeah, that'll be just up to them to contact a few of them for a start, I guess, and then and then once people hear about it, they'll be able to chop and change through the weekends as it goes along.
Yeah, and just another question, if that's okay. I see under waste education, it was the first year that there were no Christmas tree baubles and whole hams found in recycling bins. So is that just good comms, or are people just learning their lesson, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess so. Christmas changes quite a bit each year, so I think it is good comms. Ashburton's pretty good about what we do recycle, so.
Councillor Wilson.
With respect to I see on page number 13, it says that we anticipate sending a higher volume of waste to Cape Valley this year than last year. Higher volume of waste to Cape Valley this year than last year. Do you see that as being, a trend going forward? Because it's I'm probably on to the case of it because our waste management bill is much, much bigger this year in our budgets, and if we get this wrong, it can go badly wrong. So I'm just interested to understand, is it a trend or is it unusual, or what do you think is happening there?
Yeah, I think it's a trend. I don't think it's unusual. We will send about probably 300 tonnes extra, I think, by the end of this year. But with growth and that, I think it is a trend, yep.
And second question for mate, it's to do with the solid waste capital project. Am I the right man to talk around that? Yes, the procurement of the green waste and sorting bunker is underway. So that's solid waste management line of our budgets, effectively, isn't it? And so when that's all done, that capital project gets charged across where it's meant to be charged, obviously, to different parts of the green waste is collected and goes through there. Will that be big enough? And how do you think? Because obviously green waste is the new thing. Is that all panning out as you thought, effectively?
Yep, everything's going ahead with that. Also, those bunkers will help with C&D, be an area for diversion, so hopefully we can use that a bit more as well. But no, everything is going along fine.
Councillor Moffat.
Good morning. I've got a couple of questions about the reuse shop as well. And the first one is, how much does the reuse shop earn on weekends that these community groups can have? And I presume there'll be some sort of health and safety being on that site there, training. So is council doing that health and safety training, or will that be Wasteco?
I haven't really got the numbers on what it makes over the weekend. As far as health and safety on the site, that's so the new contract was run the site for us. So essentially, it'll be under their health and safety. So it'll work.
Councillor Everest.
Thank you. Morning, Justin. Probably not a question for you. I was just interested in the illegal dumping in this report. How does that relate to recent years? It may be something we need to dig up, but are we making progress on that? And I guess I note that the facility that we've got to drop off for free must be helping, I would have thought, but we still see the occasional stuff down the river there.
Yep, I can answer that for you. Our illegal dumping has been dropping probably fairly steadily over the last 6 or 7 years as we've brought in that free drop-off area. And going by other councils, I think we're probably one of the lowest in the country for illegal dumping. So yeah, it does go up and down, but it's pretty good.
And just supplementary, the recycling materials that we've got from the drop-off site, is there any locality trends that we can pick up over time, and do we need to do more about that?
What do you mean by locality?
Just in terms of, sorry, I'll just get to the right screen. So it's on page 13, 14, which is just the volume of recycles, and you've got the different distribution of the different sites. Is there any trend that's showing up there over time, and do we need to do some work in those communities if there is?
They're not too bad. They are really good. Probably, if I was picking one, I would say Methven, but that's because we accept a lot of other materials at Methven as well. But generally speaking, since we lock the bins open, is what we call it, most material you find is on the ground anyway, so it's easy to sort. So that's been a positive for the materials that we get in the bin. So, everywhere is pretty good. You get the odd one, but they're not too bad at all.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Just a general question, and welcome, Justin. With the cost associated with the solid waste management, it's quite important, I think, that we keep an eye on it monthly to just look at the trends as per Councillor Wilson's commentary and everybody else's commentary, so we can see that our budget is correct and we're not going to get any shocks. I look here at the data, and I assume you collect this monthly, but we're getting it 3 months or nearly 3 months delayed. Is that because you're new, or is that what? Can we get a more updated, because I presume you're collecting this information regularly, like it must be as it occurs. It would be good to have it not 3 months delayed.
What we're trying to do with the activity briefing is focus on the work that council has been doing up till the end of a defined activity briefing is at the end of this month. Then it will only be up to date till the end of February. We have to have a cut-off date to provide you information.
That's fair.
While I see in some reports some prediction, I can't control it. I'm sorry. While there is some a reference in these reports to things that are coming up, that's actually not really the intention of the activity briefings. It's really about a snapshot in time up to a defined period, just to get a feeling for the business of council. If you want further and more up-to-date information, we'll have to think of a different way to do it, because the activity briefing is quite a prescribed process to get managers to populate their information. If some of the information is a little out of date, we'll need to think of a different way. We can't easily bring it right up to date in this environment.
Because when I look at the general waste of the Cape Valley, the last figure we have is December 25. So if we're watching, and this is on our high alert, the solid waste contract and the cost of it and all the other things associated with it, it would be nice just to marry the cost and what it's going to cost over the forecast over the 12 months with the waste. So at least we can see some sort of relationship and whether they're following each other up the trend line. Right, and that might be something that we can just keep an eye on. I would appreciate that. Like, if there is another way, another situation, I don't know, but that's up to you, Hamish.
Yeah, I'm just looking at page 12. Is that appears to be more up to date than that, or am I looking at the wrong thing?
You're looking at page 12. I'm looking at page.
Microphone.
I'm looking at page 11, and it's got December 25. Page 12 is December 25. We're now near the end of March 26. So I was hoping we could have. We just don't want a 3-month lag all the time, and then we see the last 3 months that we've overspent always.
My page 12 says February 26.
Yeah, all the data is up to February.
Are you looking at the bar graph?
Yeah.
Well, let mine go. Show me there. On page 13. Page 12. Yeah. December 25.
Councillor Moffat and Maxwell, can you just turn your microphones off? Councillor Cameron, can you turn yours on, please?
Yeah, that's the bar graph.
Councillor Cameron.
That mine only goes to December 25. Show me page 21.
That's open for a different activity.
That's fair enough. I see that you don't. I see that. I still don't think. I think it's still important to just remember.
Councillor Moffat.
To the procurement for the green waste and sorting bunkers, as I'm not familiar what sorting bunkers particularly are these procured locally? Are they bespoke? Are they built on site? What are they made of?
Yep, so these are procured locally. The blocks, so it's essentially concrete blocks for the walls, put on a concrete pad. The concrete blocks come from Christchurch, but this tender was put out for local contractors, so it is a local contractor that looks like will get the job. Yeah, so essentially just the blocks are tensioned down to the concrete, so when the loader operates in there, they don't push the blocks on.
Councillor Maxwell.
Just as a thought, and to Councillor Cameron's comments, in terms of the solid waste, maybe not so much the amounts, but the numbers would surely be turning up or can turn up in our audit, risk and finance reports because they're more often, and that would be a good way for us to track those numbers and the dollars. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. I've been asked a couple of times, so I'll pass it on, Justin. The compost, was that something that we will sort of maybe investigate down the track once we've sort of got our head around FOGO and actually producing some compost here instead of in Timaru? Or is that, I mean, I know it's a whole bunch more consents and there's smell issues and all that, or is that never likely to happen?
Yeah, we haven't looked too hard at it at the moment, but in conversations with Wasteco, that's something that they are interested in pursuing down the track. Yep.
So, thank you. Further questions, councillors?
Just one very quick question. Current contractor, fuel costs have gone through the roof. We all know that. Are we getting hit with some claims for fuel for the cost of fuel?
That will certainly affect the contract escalation, and it'll reflect in the indices that come through. We'll normally a couple of months late before all that passes through and has the effect on the contract.
Just following that up, because it's such a moment in time issue, and we did have a conversation just yesterday about the impact of the fuel crisis on our waste collection service and the potential for our current budget to be inadequate. And that's a real live concern to us for the year ending June 27. And one of the things we are at least thinking about is whether we should return back to council and seek a different budget, or at least a way of managing what may well be increased fuel costs for that area. Of course, we're facing them in water and roading as well. The roading, we just tend to do less work because we've got the program is set through our agreement with Whakakatahi. And I guess for the water renewals, pipes, etc., you would potentially just renew a little bit less in order to cope with unexpected price shocks. But waste, we can't do that. We have to drive around and pick up the rubbish. So we are thinking about that right now.
Thank you. Any further questions for Justin? No. So Chrissy's here, Stockwater Operations and Exit Transitions, pages 18 and 19. Questions, councillors? Anything further, Chrissy? No. Thank you. Councillor Gilkison.
Hello. I'm just looking through all your notes on all the various exit plans that we've got and looking at Klondike. So you've got 60% of people that require an alternative supply, which is really high. So how are the conversations going with an alternative provider to take that on? Because it seems like one that should remain, but obviously not by us. because we've chosen to exit. So how are those conversations going?
Yeah, they are progressing slowly. We are making progress. It feels like we are getting closer now to some decisions and some direction. So, yeah.
But it is looking positive to keep it? Well, like existing, not by us?
Potentially, yes. Yeah.
60%. And then just curiously, the meeting that we had, so it was joint with the Craycroft and the Klondike, and there were 32 members. Do you know the split of who came from which? Because Craycroft, with 14% indicating alternative supply, were more of the people at that meeting representative of Klondike?
When I looked back through the attendance list and had a bit of a look, it was kind of half and half. And it just depends on people's farming methods and all that sort of stuff now too, as to whether they want it. Certainly Craycroft there's not the same desire as there is as for Klondike. Klondike farmers are much higher up, so they don't have the same access to groundwater that the people down in Craycroft one have.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference to their needs as well.
Is there anyone still yet to fill in the survey?
No, between myself and John Wright, everyone has now been contacted, and we're now starting just to do maps to work out what the spread is of people who still need it and where they're situated.
Okay, thank you.
Melis.
Thank you. Chrissy, on page 19, under Podding Hill, so John Wright's contacted everyone, and I see the options include connecting with BCI, Spaxton Water, or to the Methven water supply. So they obviously only connect to the Methven water supply for drinking water. They're not going to use that for stock water purposes, are they?
They can do, because the people that are connected are on restrictors anyway, so they're only allocated so much water per day. And from what some of the work that John's done, it would appear that they probably don't need much more per day as it currently is. But that's something that Mr. Guthrie's looking into at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
It's just the obvious connection for them because they're already connected to the town supply.
Councillor Wilson.
Christy, the two that were passed through council last week, one of them's got a slightly different date to what we've got here, isn't it? The motion was slightly different. And what can you just expand on which one that was? I'm just don't want to get the wrong way around.
Alfred Forest has now been changed to June 27.
And that's so that we can allow, there's a potential person up there that wants to look into an environmental outcome from it. I think it's important to highlight that because, and it's also to Councillor Deb's comment about Ruapuna, we exit the management of the stockwater race, but at the same time we're very careful to make sure that no one's left high and dry as it was, and that's part of our prerogative. And also the environment's not left in a worse state, or that's what we're careful with as we do it. So that's where some of the processes get to a certain point, and you think, oh, you've got nobody there, but that next bit is the bit that we agonise over, so the community can be quite sure that's what's happening.
Melis.
Thanks. A follow on to that is Methven Auxiliary and of course the race that flows down Forest Drive. So you're saying that this will be considered by council this year. Will that be sort of towards the end of the year? Is there quite a bit of work to do on the Mount Harding stream and the race that flows down Forest Drive?
Time frame's a little bit hard at the moment. It all depends on the discussions with ECAN that are coming up and that sort of stuff. So that will all feed into that. Because at the moment, Methven Auxiliary also supplements. It's actually what supplements the bulk of what goes down Forest Drive. So
yes.
It depends on the conversations with ECAN, which are coming up.
And we've got a meeting on Monday with ECAN to discuss this.
Councillor Wilson.
I think it's important for everybody to remember too that when we had our rate setting discussion, we set the rates for the stock water for next year soon, and there's a point we've almost reached that point. I'm sure the Chief Executive would agree with me, where we won't be shutting. When we say shutting, we may have the process underway, but everybody will be charged rates until 2027 now. So we're getting to that point where we may have a process to shut it over the next 12 months. Up until 2027, but we'll be charging rates on the existing ones until 2027 now. So that gives you a level of comfort both ways a wee bit, that if we're shutting them, you're still charging, so we'd probably have to keep them open until 2027 if we're charging rates on it.
Yes, we're very mindful of the balance between the exit and the cost of maintaining supply, and the fact that the ratepayers who exist as at 1 July end up will have to pay for the whole year. There's no part payments in the rates system. If you get the service on 1 July, then you're deemed to have it and have to pay the full rates. So we're mindful of that in terms of the actual service they get. So you're right, there'll be a tension between that, exiting the strategy, and landing smoothly on the 30th of June 27.
Councillor Everest.
Thank you. Just following up from Neil's last comment about the meeting with ECAN. Are we looking, Neil, to have a meaningful discussion on fish screens in that environment? Because that is actually one of the captures in some of the races that maybe you're wanting to keep open.
Yes, we can discuss that. The main purpose of this meeting is to discuss Mount Iron Creek, but while discussing that, the fish screen discussion, certainly can be raised and explored. Yeah. Whether we actually still need a fish screen there, if it's going to continue just for environmental purposes, not for stock water. Yeah.
Which is my point exactly. Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Thanks, Chrissy. Next up, roads and footpaths. Mark Chamberlain and page 23. Hi, Mark, is there anything to add to your report?
No, not really. I was just following about the price of oil and things like that. NZTA will be giving us some notification about sort of dealing with that across the country, because all contracts running across the country are going to be affected by it. Just one thing, cost indices for adjustments are done quarterly for maintenance, but they're done monthly for reseals, just because of the volatility of oil, so reseals are more affected. So we'll have the latest ones of those coming out, and they'll be applied to our contract payments coming up. So there will be a bit of a extra cost on all of those, so that's just the way it is. But NZT, I'm not sure what they're going to help us with. I'll be surprised if it's extra money, but we'll see.
Councillor Wilson.
Further to that comment there, Mark, on page number 25, we're 69.2 Ks of reseals completed. What are we at today? Because obviously, if we've done it, we're not paying the escalation because we got it in before it went up. And I would have thought we're near the end of the resealing season, because you go too late, it doesn't work from now on effectively.
Plan to be finished by end of next week, so but the tail end of it may be affected by it still, so yeah.
Councillor Gilkison.
Hey, Mark, I just have a question. Would you be able to explain to me in practical ways, what is local road pothole prevention? Like, what does that look like? Because I've seen what happens to some potholes. Is that pothole prevention when they just put the stuff in and then next week there's another pothole there?
The pothole prevention is an activity class that's been named by NZTA, so, and the government, and for funding. So that is for reseals, rehabs, things like that. So fixing the roads more. So that's funding that they put in there and ring fenced it, so it can only be used in that activity class. In terms of pothole patching, that's seal pavement maintenance, so that's normal operations, and that's just to hold it until we can actually do some more work on it. So a lot of pothole repairs, and it's been discussed here previously. There's potholes in, mix goes in it. That is a temporary thing normally, because it's an area of pavement that needs extra work, but we can't do everything we need to do. So the patching is done, knowing that it won't necessarily last, because the pavement's the end of its life, but it's got to keep on getting patched until we can actually do a dig-out repair, or do a rehab, or do a reseal after the dig-out repairs and that sort of thing. So pothole prevention is an activity class term that's there, and those items that are underneath that are specifically funded to, I don't agree with the term pothole prevention, but it's actually to improve the roads rather than actually just patch them. So
So it's not the putting the stuff in, that's not the pothole prevention, that's the waiting for the pothole prevention.
That's under operations, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could do everything that we wanted to do on the areas of the road that need the work on them, then we'd be doing it. But the reseals and the rehabilitation are the ones that cost the most, and that's where we're increasing our funding, but we've only got so much to do. So.
Sorry, as they patch them, do they then rate them on how bad it is to go into the next phase of pothole prevention or reseals?
Well, we've got, well, our forward program is based on that, so there's a lot of data there. We've got a lot of all faults information, so every 2 or 3 years, the contractor goes around and looks at all the faults there, and that builds into our forward program where we need to do rehabs and reseals and things like that, basically the condition of the network. Currently, I think, in terms of all faults, there's sort of $3.5 million worth of work sitting in our looking in the future. That always gets added to every month, pretty much, just for traffic using the road. So, yes, it builds into what our forward program is. If you look at potholes where they're repaired, and look on it, we've got a heat map. I might include it in the next activity, but it shows where that is. If you look at that over time, and I'll use Rundawakai Gorge Road as an example, that used to have a lot of, a heat map had a lot of red bits on it because of the condition of it. Over 3 or 4 years we've done our rehabs, those have gone because that's actually fixed that problem. It goes to other places like Thompson's Track and other roads we've got as well. So that's, yeah, it's a good indicator where we need to do work, where there's lots of pothole repairs being done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Phyllis.
Thanks. Mark, the resilience work that's going on, I guess our Methven Chertsey Road for Dry Creek, is that correct? Or whereabouts is that going to happen?
Yeah, we've got a couple of projects. So Dry Creek, the work on the roads, but we've got some upgrades to do. We've actually probably going to put that forward to next year. The team had a talk with Aberdeen, our new stormwater engineer, and he had a few good ideas on actually doing something a bit different to what we were planning based on his experience. So it's great to have him here so we can actually use him so that anytime we've got something like that to do now, we get hold of Aberdeen and get his advice. So the resilience work we're doing this year is the Springburn Bushside Culvert, we're increasing that, and then the Dry Creek work we've got a program for next year now. So just to try and manage our budgets, that's just one thing. Rather than rushing into it, we'll try and get it for next year, and we can carry that forward in our subsidised program. So.
Okay, and another question. The rubber road that went in over in Glen Tunnel, have you been to have a look at that, and is it something that we're interested in?
Aware of it, not necessarily interested in it, no. I think rubber and added to bitumen to improve the stickiness of the bitumen is a better use of rubber rather than putting rubber chips on the road. So. But we'll see how it goes. It's on a very low volume road down to the camping ground in Glen Tunnel, so it's not going to get a lot of use. I think they did do a section on another road without sort of having it as a trial, and it fell off pretty quickly. Rubber isn't very strong in terms of, as compared to stone that you use for chips, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. But rubber within bitumen has actually been able to be done for a long time. It actually just improves the stickiness of the bitumen. There's a cost to that as well, though. It costs more to actually put it in. So.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. The Will Street Rail Bridge, can you just inform us where that's at now? Obviously went through council, and just it says here, so where's it at? So when can I walk across the new bridge? That's pretty much what I want to know.
Well, it's not a new bridge, it's an old bridge that's been tidied up. So there's a 6-month program. The first thing is contract's been awarded. The contractors are getting things in place for their subbies to actually remove the truss and get it tied up. The first thing is just getting the Kiwi Rail permit to do it. So the contractor is doing that at the moment, so that shouldn't be too far away. Kiwi Rail do have to have people standing over when we're doing the work near the railway line, so within their land. So over the next couple of months, that's when the work will start, and then this sort of 6-month period time frame is what that is for the work there. So yeah,
but done by Christmas.
That is the plan. Yes.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Have you awarded that contract, Mark?
Yeah, it's been awarded to Grant Hood, yes.
And will that be coming out in the public? You'll inform the public just of the, well, it's in the report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It stayed in while we advised the contenderers who was successful. And
so we'll put the price out in the media and advise people of, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the report is, the media release is about to go today, I think. Just seeing it was all signed in the last couple of days. Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll get a time frame on it. People can't use the bridge or people My question relates to the walking and cycling, the footpath maintenance, footpath panels and the cycle path maintenance. And we spent
So, Councillor Moffat and Maxwell, can you move your microphone over that side? Yeah, you're talking off it as well, though. Yeah, but I hope talking into it will help for a start. But yep, go again now, Carol. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I know we're 57% the budget. Is that because we got that late funding? Is that because of that, or?
No, our footpath maintenance renewal budgets are less than what we asked for and less than what you've been funded. So no, 57. That's just the time of the year.
Okay, that's fine. It's a phasing thing.
Yep,
Okay.
pretty much. Yeah.
And when you do the road rehabs, you write a list of the roads, that have been rehabilitated. Are you going to do that for the renewals for the footpaths? Like, so people know which footpaths are being fixed.
I can do. We've got a list of them. So yes.
Yeah. And with regards to can I ask one more question, please? With regards to new footpaths, like we've been asking, and I know the Mayor has asked as well, for a footpath down, is it Ellen's Road?
Yeah.
That's not in this, is it? It's not in that budget?
No, it's capital work. That's new work that we haven't got any funding for. So those sorts of projects were normally done under a low cost, low risk funding for improvements. That is not something that currently are being funded. So resilience work, yes, we've had that added, but we had zero approved at the start of this 3-year program. So if they're going to be done, I suggest that they would have to be unsubsidised by council in the future if we want to do those.
So you've been signalled by NZTA that there'll be really no new money for low risk?
It's unlikely, yeah. For resilience, probably yes, we can keep going for those, but for new things like new footpaths, things like that, we'd have to probably fund those ourselves. But, yeah.
And you wouldn't have a ballpark of what does it cost per metre, for a road, per metre of footpath?
We kind of know what that is, but for Allen's Road, and it's been a bit of discussion that it is not just a footpath, it probably should be curb and channel, piping the drains, street lights, things like that. So you might talk about $1 million to do that section of road. So, yeah.
Councillor Moffat.
Hi. So as far as the new street lights, the power undergrounding at 225,000, is that for new subdivisions or what?
No, EA Networks has a power undergrounding program that they go around, and as part of that, the street lights that are on power poles need to be on new street light poles. So we've, at the same time as the undergrounding is done, we put in the new street lights to replace those. So that's what that cost is. It's not subdivisions. Subdivisions are done by the developer, so they install those. But this is where power's being undergrounded. The street lights are on power poles. So when the power poles aren't there anymore, we have to put in new street light poles. It's a good thing to do, and it tidies the streets up. But we have to pay for that, and we coordinate with EA Networks.
Where's that happening at the moment?
Can't tell you off the top of my head, but I can give you a list of sites they're going to do. We have their forward program, and we've got it on our dashboard on our website, so we do know where they are. It's something we keep in RAM of where they're undergrounding as well, so other utilities, so we keep a track of those. So yeah.
Is it okay if I ask a footpath question? Sure. As far as the footpaths go, the renewals and the maintenance, does that include weeds and lichen? Because there's a lot of that around where I live.
Yeah, maintenance includes weeds and lichen. Spraying of lichen does happen. It's not necessarily that effective, but lichen, I've said here before, is because of the relatively low use by pedestrians and relatively clean air. Lichen likes clean air and not people walking on it, so it does grow. I know that people think it's slippery, but it's no more slippery than asphalt normally, but it's more of an aesthetic thing of getting rid of it. I know some people don't like it being sprayed, they actually quite like the look of it, but we do have a spraying of lichen program in our maintenance contract.
How often would that go around?
It's a couple of times a year, but it's not everywhere. It's some places that seem to be the worst ones, but lichen will come back if there's not enough use on the footpaths. I say not enough use, I say low use. Most of our footpaths are quite low use. Yeah.
Is that something you'd respond to with a snap, scene, solve, Mark?
Yes, and then those sections of footpath get in the program, so I wouldn't necessarily go and do it straight away, but when they're doing other sections of footpath, will be added to it as well, and there are sites that they do know about as well. Yeah.
The walking shoes on, Councillor Moffat. Councillor Maxwell.
Just a quick question, if I may. Roads where the bitumen comes all through and then it's literally like lakes of tar, do they come under local roads, for capital repair, or they go for that resealing? I'm just thinking with winter coming, black ice and the fact they're now low-lying and have a lot of water on them.
Yeah, it depends on the road, and it depends the reason why the bitumen is there. So if there's surplus bitumen, it's either there's been too much put on when the sealing's been done, and once there's too much, putting another seal on doesn't fix that, because all you're doing is putting stones on that actually takes the place with the bitumen, so it rises even higher again. One of the other reasons it can be like that is actually the pavement is at the end of its life, so stone actually gets pushed down into the base course, so that means the bitumen is left on top. So we do water cutting in some places, so it's a bit slippery, but there's a lot of it around. The best solution is, and most of those sites that are like that are at program for a rehabilitation, because the pavement's actually getting quite old. So it's lots of layers of seal, pavement's at the end of its life. The only way of really fixing it is to rebuild the road. So we don't do anything with it specifically with winter coming up, but sites that we do know about that need gritting and stuff like that. But black ice in itself isn't necessarily to do with that. It's sites where you get wet overnight, and then it freezes in the morning when it's still wet, and that's why it's pretty widespread, not just in shaded areas and things like that. So yeah.
So just quickly, so that's coming, those sorts of work, that work comes out of capital, not repair?
No, it's maintenance. Yeah, it's our operation budget. Yeah, but the rehabs or reseals come out of our bottle prevention, which is capital. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's a bit confusing.
Sorry, to do with that traffic hotspot, there was an accident at the corner of Long Beach Road outside the Long Beach School earlier in the week, and someone came through the stop sign coming down Boundary Road. So Boundary Road goes through the schools here. The school has its lights that flash and reduce the speed at school during school hours. But I think one of the problems potentially is that people coming down Boundary Road can't see around the corner, because there's a lot of trees here, and they're pulling out into the Long Beach Road potentially, and cars coming through there at 100 k's. There's quite a problem there, and there's been a few accidents there. Can you look into whether we should be reviewing the speed in that part of the road, or what we could do to help? Because there was the person was injured, but it could have been easily a fatality there.
Speed isn't a speed limit through there, because there's the school speed limit. That's it.
There's a school speed limit, but then there's open road speed the rest of the time, I think, isn't it?
Yes, because it's a rural area. So are you suggesting that we should have an 80k speed limit or 60 there on a rural road?
I'm not the expert, but I would. There's been several accidents there, so we should be. I think it's because it's a very busy intersection, and you can't see when you come through that intersection, so you're poking your nose out into a 100k road without being able to see, which is, there has been accidents. So I just thought it would be worth having a look to see what.
We can do. That's why I didn't see. It's a stop control because of visibility. So, but we have a look at this. Vegetation needs trimming back as well. Then we can get that done as well. So yeah, I'll have a look at that.
Thanks, Mark. Councillor Cameron.
Just following on from that, do you get official notification of accidents in the district and where they occur? Oh, you do?
It depends on the crash. Okay. If it's a crash and there's non-injury, then no. But it comes through in our crash reports from CAS, that ends up we download that into RAM. So we've got those in RAM, but we also go into CAS. If it's fatality.
What does CAS stand for? Sorry, Mark. CAS, what does that stand for?
Crash Analysis System. Okay. So yeah, that's police.
So you don't get so it goes to the police, put it into CAS, or?
If police attend a crash, they do a report. And then it goes into CAS. If they don't attend, then there's no report. But and for non-injury ones, sort of 1 in 10 is reported. That's sort of the ratio. But if it's a fatality, we get notified of that, so that we get an email through normally within a day if there's been a fatality somewhere.
So you can see sort of a list of the highest crash sites in the district, and then you can go out and assess it from an expert position as to what is required to.
Yep. Just to comment on black spots used to be. In high crash sites, 75% of crashes happen at sites where there's no history of crashes. So Black spots have sort of been shown that they're not a very good way of actually dealing with things, because things can be quite random, just people just making a mistake or something like that. It's not the intersection of itself. So, yeah.
Okay.
Those reports are available in the Road Safety Committee minutes as well, Mark. Yep. Any further questions, councillors? Free to go, Mark. Thank you. And now on to Neil with contracts, and also we'll morph into Lake Hood.
Yeah, just on the contracts, the award, the roundabout at Harrison Street was awarded to Fulton Hogan, and I've just heard they'll be starting work on the 13th.
Do we have any? Do you normally provide details of the other tender, or is it just the winning one? Were they similar? Or is there commercial sensitivity?
We don't normally give the prices of the others. We normally just give what it was awarded for, typically.
Was it ballpark?
I'd have to ask the rating. I think it was, this one was fairly close.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you, Stephen. I was just interested with Lake Hood, because we haven't had long periods of hot weather. We probably haven't had the blooms or the toxicity in the lake. I was just wondering, with the activity going on with Lincoln College, how that report is going to compare this year to what we've had previously. But when are we going to get the reports from that?
Yes, so the trials are coming up to their second month or 3-month trial. This time last year we did have the bloom, so we had 5 consecutive warm days, and that was enough to get the bloom. It doesn't look likely, but I won't say it won't. But we'll, by the end of April, when the trials are finished, we'll have a better idea. But admittedly, the trial hasn't been. It's been sort of affected by the lack of the bloom. The containers seem to have had a bloom inside them, so the trial of the products has been pretty good. But out in the lake, it's hard to say that the results of the sonic devices have been very positive, when all around the lake the figures, the 10 sampling sites are dropping at the same time. So, yeah, a bit disappointing we didn't get a full bloom for a trials perspective, but good for the lake though. Yeah, and the users. This report was written early last week, and it's since this report's been written, we've received 2 green results, and so the warning signs were removed yesterday afternoon. So the lake now doesn't have any warning signs up.
Just for your question, Councillor Cameron, can the councillors on this side of the room just make sure that your microphones are to your left? As you're turning to talk to the top table, you're going off mic, and it's hard. So if you can move yours over, Tony, over to the other side, and Tony and Phil, if you can bring yours a wee bit closer and just down a bit. You do need to talk right into the pointy end of it, and that's where the receiver is. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Can you please remind me, Neil, how long that roundabout at Oak Grove will take to be fixed, repaired, maintained?
I'll have to get that figure, and I don't know. I'll get back to you with that. I'll find out.
Councillor Wilson.
It's to do with the Lakewood program, effectively. We as councillors are constantly, I'm sure everybody's had phone calls, and people want meetings, and everybody wants to talk about it. My view, personally, is we need to, have a proper big council talk about it, consultation for the long-term plan. What's the program, so that people, we keep getting these calls. Oh, we want to meet and show you and talk to you all about it, but I'm a bit reluctant, because I think, what is the council's program for the next 12 months or 2 years? Not so much the physical program, that the telling the people and working out it's going to be paid for, all that. What's the program for that?
Neil, maybe I'll answer the second part of that question, but most of the queries and comments that we get, and it may well be the same for councillors, is concern at the health warning system and the testing regime, and the accuracy of those in terms of the health of the lake and therefore its use. And we as the owner of the lake, know that the testing and the health warning regime is set by Public Health, Te Whatuora, and the testing is largely done by ECAN, although we are assisting with some of those tests. Where the tests show a level of cyanobacteria that meets the protocol threshold, we simply then administer that, and that involves green, amber and red. When it gets to red, the warning goes on. We can advise by Public Health that there should be a warning, or there is a warning in place. We, as the owner of the lake, put the signs up, and then the getting out of that warning system requires 2 green readings before the warning gets lifted. And it's particularly, we have a lot of conversations about people who don't agree with or like the warning system. It is not something this council can change without, other than by advocacy to the Whatuora, who have that as a protocol across the, Tony, correct if I'm wrong, but I think it's the whole country, certainly it's the whole Canterbury region, Canterbury. So we're not in control of that health warning system, but most of the conversations that we have and most of the angst that we hear is that people think the lake warning system should be different to what it currently is. So we can discuss that as council or as a community or with the residents or with the health department, but until the warning protocol is amended, we have to administer it as it's currently phrased. So that's the answer to the conversations about health warnings. But the second question, or the second part of the question, as to what are we doing over the next couple of years, I think Neil is better equipped to answer.
Yes, so to answer that, it's kind of 2 phases. The short to medium term is to follow through with these trials and get a report from Professor Susie Wood with a recommendation on the way forward and how we can mitigate algal blooms for the short term. So, in other words, is there a product or is there a sonic device that we could use over the worst time of the year, sort of January, February, March, to mitigate the bloom and prevent the bloom? That's a short-term consideration, but a more longer term, the second phase is the hydrodynamic modelling that's being undertaken. So all the survey work has been done. The model is being constructed now with the assistance of Earth Sciences New Zealand, previously NIWA. They're working with a PhD student from Lincoln University, and they will analyse it in detail how the water circulates, the pH, the sources of nutrients, the inlet, outlet, give us a really good understanding of the lake itself and the nutrient loads and everything regarding the lake, which will give us a sort of a longer term view of what we need to plan for in the future. Where we will extend the lake, when we apply for new consents, it'll be useful data to support all of that work.
That's I view a lot of that as operational. Sort of you would do that, and I don't know anything about that sort of stuff. But there was a couple of red flags that they've made. Apply for the consent. So there's a couple of million, And Susie, if Dr. Susie Wood comes out and says you need to do this and it'll work really well, could be $1 million because those things, So, but how does all this get funded? That's a council community decision. So I'm looking to see a point in time where we can tell the public that yes. Yep. This work's going on operationally, Hamish, that's all being done, but this is the time that we'll make the decisions on the future of Lake Hood. Because that decision needs to be made. We can't just stumble into a consent process because.
No, so the results of these trials we should know by mid-year, so we'll know what sort of money to look at, whether council does want to apply product or not. That's a short term, and there'll be costings associated with that. For the longer term, we are intending to have this information before we put in our long-term plan budgets and a plan. So that'll be presented to council, estimates and costs going forward.
So do you think we'd look to the end of this year, we'd be having a discussion around that? Because we don't want to get entangled up with the long-term plan, because the long-term plan is very, very busy and there's many moving parts. So
it will be part of the long-term plan, because that sets the council's budgets and work programs for the next 10 years, so how council deals with whatever issues we need to, including consent renewal, and the bulk of those consents, I think we previously advised you, are up in 2031, and that's the additional resource the council approved through this annual plan is to start, at least in part, that role is to start gathering data ahead of the recent resource consent applications required by 2031. So it will be part of the long-term plan for council to get to grips with.
Councillor Moffat.
On a similar ilk, but probably in a more simple way of looking at it, because it's me, we have mentioned having workshops on Lake Hood. So I imagine it won't be one workshop, it'll be a series of workshops. Do you have an idea when the first one will be, and will that be open to the public to observe those proceedings?
I can't just advise the date, but yes, that we would intend that workshop to be open to the public.
Correct. Yep.
Councillor
Do we know when we might be doing it though? To the first part of your question.
I think we were looking in May of getting a spot in May to have that workshop. Yep.
Councillor Cameron.
The scientific evidence this year has not been, I get the gist from you, too profound, given that we haven't had a massive algal bloom, so it's very difficult to differentiate benefit or otherwise. Are there other studies? Is the professor from Lincoln looking at other lakes similar to Lake Hood? Because it would be dangerous, I think, to extrapolate the data for future years at Lake Hood, given if we've only got a sample size of 1 and it wasn't a bad year to show market evidence. Are there other lakes undertaking the same sort of research with the same compound in the same way in New Zealand?
No, and we're not aware of any others doing similar experiments or trials. We're fortunate that it's a man-made lake, so it's a lot easier to do that. To undertake that in other streams and lakes would be more difficult with consenting issues. But we've got the expert. We've got Professor Susie Wood, who is New Zealand's top cyanobacteria scientist, and she is certainly aware of cyanobacteria and the effects in other water bodies around New Zealand. So we'll be tapping into that knowledge and experience and advice when she presents her recommendations from our trials.
Again, it's probably premature to discuss that till we see that report, I guess.
It's correct. Until we've got the facts and data, we don't know, really.
And through Mr. Chairman, I do recall a meeting down at Lake Hood with the residents that she presented at, and she made the point that each water body is unique because of the way in which water gets in and to the lake and out and how it circulates. So we don't think that that lack of other trials and other water bodies is necessarily a too limiting a factor, because there may not be lakes set up exactly the same way as Lake Hood.
Thanks, Neil. Compliance and development. We got.
Just through the chair, are we going to go back to that finance report at some stage? Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't see Gordon out here though. Okay.
Oh, okay. At the end of the.
Yes. Okay. Yep. Welcome, Michael. Ian, anything to add to your report, Michael?
Through the chair, just like to point out on page 35 with the graph of the number of dwelling consents accumulating. The green bars are normally an average year for us since the Canterbury quakes, and then the two other high bars, the deep blue and the orange, were the COVID craziness, and you can see that our current year trend is going to surpass that quite easily. So as of this morning, before I came into this meeting, we still have another 61 houses in our processing queue to do, and we've already issued 25 for the month. So it's just ramping up.
Oh. Thank you. Councillor Moffat.
With the volume of consent, I see that a lot of that consenting has been outsourced. Is that outsourced to local companies, if that's the right term, and how much is that costing?
through the chair. One company is local, the other two are based in Christchurch, and it's fully cost recoverable.
So what percentage is council still doing?
We're currently doing about 50%.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just as a matter of interest, Michael, where are these consents? In the urban areas and Methven, Symes, Ashburton?
They're nicely distributed all over the district, so it's quite good. So Methven is about 21% at the moment. There's a lot in Mount Somers, a few in Rakaia, and then there's because we had a lot of dairy sheds as well, a lot of the top left of the quadrant of the district have a lot of dairy sheds, which bring about 3 houses per dairy shed as well. So there's a lot in that
that's
corner.
a big area then. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Well, I was just interested in your comments on the granny flats, that the uptake hasn't been maybe to the level that we were maybe thinking because of different issues. Would you like to comment on that?
Yep, through the chair. So we've actually only issued 2 granny flat PIMs since the law change came into force. One was fully compliant with the regulations, and the other one still needed a resource consent and NZTA approval because it was adjoining a state highway. And we've probably had maybe 24 inquiries as well. But what we're finding is the designers don't have the insurance cover for their business. They've got the cover to do design, but not to project manage, which they have to take over as part of the granny flat rules. And at the end of the job, they have to produce the as-built plans as well. So they do have to project manage the job all the way through. And so it's the insurance for them that's causing, I suppose, a hiccup. And a lot of the inquiries, the owners are actually telling us it's actually easier to get a consent.
Any further questions for Michael? All good, mate. Thank you. Civil Defence Emergency Management, Jim Henderson. Morning, Jim.
Morning.
Anything further to add, mate?
Nothing further to add.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Morning, Jim. I just interested in your Sarami zonings, the changing in the colours. I just interested. I didn't realise we had 3 different colours beforehand, and what they were, and what does this going to blue mean? What does the difference there?
Through the chair, so at the moment Ashburton District only has 2 colours, so there are 3 colours nationwide. Yellow you only evacuate if instructed to do so by emergency management, and orange and red you evacuate at any time that we have a tsunami warning. With the going to the blue zone, that's going to cover all 3 of the current zones, which means it could lead to over evacuation, but it has been used in a number, or Waikato have already gone to it, and it's been taken on as a national standard. So it will mean that we will evacuate more from our district than we would normally, but we don't have anywhere near the risk that is faced by Christchurch, for example.
It's a quick one from me, Jim, for Councillor Moffat. Everything go okay with your trip away as far as the duty arrangements back here?
Through the chair, yes. So worked that with my manager who took over for that period that I was away, and that they worked really well, and the controller covered for it as well. So yeah, we've solved a problem there, which is really good.
Nice. Councillor Moffat.
Hi, just wondering how confident you feel in response times to incidents. I heard a news story today with events in the North Island. In some instances, they were waiting for up to 5 hours for teams to get together to respond to some emergencies. How are you feeling about response times locally?
I think we've improved. We can have a crew in the EOC and stood up within sort of 30 minutes, which is very good. In terms of our volunteers, I had a training with them last night. We use a really technical system to call them out called WhatsApp. And they tend to respond really quickly to that, and we can get a crew out within the hour for that as well. We don't have the response teams like other councils have, so sometimes everything to do with civil defence is volunteers, so you're relying on people having to take time away from what they do BAU to come and work in emergency management. I would say that our response times for our emergency services, police, fire, ambulance, are really good here within the district and meet all the standards. So yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks. Through the chair, Jim. You went out with ECAN to look at the rivers, and they've done some risk mitigation activities, and we were talking the other week with regards to taking shingle out of the river for the second urban bridge or the road. Are there still a lot of risk in the rivers, or have they been, did they point out future works? Because I hear from people that live, around there that there's still a huge flooding risk. What is the state of that?
After spending time going out on the sort of the workshop, I suppose, around the district with ECAN, I've got a good level of confidence that they understand the rivers. We're never going to remove the flooding risk completely, and the rivers are very much flood channels when it gets when it starts to ramp up. But I have confidence that they understand the risks that they're facing on the rivers, and that they have good systems in place to alert us to those risks and alert those that live beside the rivers to the risks that they're facing. So, yeah, happy with it.
Because if I may continue, when we talked with ECAN, and it would be a good few years ago now, they were going to take a lot of shingle out of the river to stop the risk of the river exploding over and coming down Racecourse Road and up through Mill Creek and down Bottom Pages Road. Has that occurred to your knowledge? I mean, I know it's not your responsibility. So that if we did have a massive rainfall, we would not get rivers coming out of their path, essentially.
We will always get some form of the rivers coming out. So around the town, we're protected to a 1 in 200 annual return time. In the rural areas, we're protected to a 1 in 50 year annual return time. So by design, we will always get water coming out of the rivers. It's just the mitigations they put in place to try and stop that getting into people's houses. I've got a good level of confidence that they've done that. They have purchased some land and are looking to do a project up in the Reach, which that'll take a lot of pressure off Jespers Bend. So they've got plans in place and are working their way through that.
Okay, and one more final question, please. The May 2021 floods, what was that? 1 in 200, 1 in 100, 1 in 50, what was that?
That was a 1 in 200 year flood.
Mealis.
Thanks. Probably since you've written the report, the fuel situation's escalated. But are you getting regular updates from CDEM about that? And I suppose we're kind of on high alert with that as well.
It's very much not an emergency management issue at the moment. So it's not. Okay. It's a risk that we do take time to plan for, but MB lead the push on this. We've done some contingency planning around a holistic consequence analysis and that sort of thing. So that kind of looking at the risks we'll face if things happen. So they're gathering data on that at the moment, but we really haven't spent a lot of time on it yet.
Okay, but I've had an update from CDM, just one, but I kind of assumed you'd be getting a few more than me. Yeah.
We're certainly not doing it daily. About once a week on a Monday, we're getting an update from the group controller. Yes, and he's assured us that information will be passed on to elected members and KEG as well as we go through this crisis further.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate your time. Up next, alcohol licensing, Rick Catchpole. Morning, Rick.
Morning, councillors.
Anything to add to your report?
Nothing further to add, thank you.
Questions? Councillors? Animal control. I'll start. Mr. Watts is encouraging councils to enforce menacing dogs must be neutered. Do we have that policy here, Rick?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Already in place.
Thanks. Councillor Gilkison.
Hi, Rick. I just want to know, how do you know how many unregistered dogs there are and what's your process?
Thank you. It is an unknown figure, but we do this by way of surveys. Our contractor monitors and surveys, and any complaints that they follow up on, they're always on the lookout for unregistered dogs.
Okay, so a range of complaints and a survey just going around saying that dog's not on the list.
That's correct. We have a list of unregistered dogs, which as you can see is always falling down, and that is from complaint-based and investigations.
And so when they're on that list, you contact them and say, register your dog.
Exactly that, yes. They get warning letters, visits, and then infringement notices, and we can, following that, have the authority to seize.
Thank you.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just on page 40, Rick, on the right-hand side, infringement, it goes down the months as one, then it jumps to 50, 70, 74, then back down to 10. Well, what makes up the numbers of those high infringements?
Thank you. Through the chair, this comes back to the previous question. These are, in the main, for unregistered dogs.
Okay.
Councillor Moffat.
Just wondering, following on from Councillor Gilkinson, so the unknown unknowns or the known unknowns, is that dogs that were previously registered, so they're on your radar, but the registration has lapsed, perhaps? Would that make up a proportion?
It does make up a proportion, sorry, through the chair, it does make up a proportion of the investigations. There are known dogs, unregistered. There are dogs out there that we know are not getting registered, which we look into. But there's also the work from the data system that we have.
Further questions?
Just jumping to food safety, is that okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So how many mobile shops do we have registered in Ashburton District? Do we have quite a few?
Thank you. Through the chair, there is quite a few, but I don't know the exact figure. I can get back to you on that. It's just that there are a number of regulars, should we say, there are multi registrations, so they may be home-based at, say, Christchurch and trading there.
Oh,
but I can get you numbers of what is solely Ashburton.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers you've inspected and wondering if that's sort of all of them or half of them or, yeah.
Thank you. Through the chair, by the end of the season, we hope that we've hit all of them in one manner or another, whether that's through events or just a normal inspection as they pop up and register themselves.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
My question's a follow-on from Liz's. What, I tried to just have a quick look then in our policies and I couldn't find it quickly. What is our expectation for compliance checking of food outlets? Like how many do we have to do a year?
Thank you. Through the chair, do you mean about the
food safety
food premise as opposed to food stalls?
Yes.
So, again, through the chair, this is a varying figure that occurs because all premises are subject to food audits by verifiers, and if all goes well with the premise, they could be then put onto an 18-month timeline. However, if there's corrective actions, then that can come down to a yearly, 6 monthly, or a 3 monthly. And if it starts creeping down to 6 monthly and 3 monthly, that's when I step in and with the, not so much the big stick, but the heavier warning towards things that need to be sorted out.
Okay, so when we look at February doing 4 and September doing 2, that really is meaningless, just looking at the figure itself. That means nothing, essentially. It just means how many we're checking. Doesn't tell us the severity of the check or what the outcomes were, or that they were big audits or short ones. Or
Thank you. Through the chair, if there was a compliance issue, I would be reporting on that separately to that box. This is the number of audits and things are ticking along okay. If it got to a food safety issue, I would be informing Ian and the exec team accordingly.
Looks like it. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate your time. Thanks for the report.
Thank you. I understand, sorry, through the chair, there's a parking question about where we're at.
Yeah, we just how the parking meters are progressing for the new car park and the old Polytech site there.
Thank you for the chair. I'll quickly put some notes together, so please bear with me on this. So the parking meters themselves, 2 cashless meters, are on order and have been for a few weeks now. I'm trying to chase up just a delivery date on that. They say 4 to 6 weeks, but they know we're in need of them. Regards the site itself, from my perspective, there's still a little bit of work there to be done. I understand the works, clearance works, is either near completion or complete. However, for the machines themselves, I still need site access to look at the layout, best entry, exit, and best safe place to have the meters installed, because they have to go onto a concrete plinth and a cradle that is then bolted to. So once I've determined that, we can get that ordered, and that's an easy job to do, but it's all part of this works. And then there's the signage to install as well.
Just supplementary to that. Do they need power run to them as well? So we have to underground some power to those concrete plinths? Or?
Thank you. Through the chair now, they're solar run and with a battery backup.
Right. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, thank you.
Up next, planning, Brad Thompson, page 43. Morning, Brad.
Good morning.
Anything to add to your report?
No, nothing further to add.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Ellis.
Just around planning, and it's not in the report. It's looking forward, I suppose. When would council have a workshop or some form of information around the land we now own in Tynwald, and moving forward, how we're going to deal with that and what we're going to do around the new road? So,
I think more a property issue than a planning issue, but clearly planning are involved. We have it in our thinking, just exactly where we have slotted in that. I'll just need to check, but we are conscious of the need for that conversation with councillors. So it'll be a multi-team approach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
And the reform work underway. I see you've been discussing ways to work collaborative with South Canterbury. What does that mean? Does it mean we're going to get a more streamlined, it's going to be cheaper? What does that mean?
I suppose the issues and concerns that this district face are quite similar to the South Canterbury councils when you're comparing to Greater Christchurch. So the purpose of that is, and we're also in similar positions in terms of what we have available to us in terms of staff time and things like that. You know, we're not as well resourced as Christchurch, just because of the size. So we're looking at ways that we can lean on each other better and try to use, pull the resources together to make it more efficient.
So do we have an outcome? But I'm not getting into it all. I'm just saying we can talk about it all, and we'll go, well, that was a good talk, and we go home back to our offices. Do we have an outcome that we really want to get? I know it's efficiency, but is there metrics we want to have in place? Like we want to be 2 days quicker doing stuff. We want to be 10% cheaper and all this sort of stuff.
So this will be primarily for the reform work, and it's in a very early stage at the moment. So it's very much at the initial point. So we haven't worked out any of that yet. But
and just more broadly, the whole conversation about shared services with other territorial authorities in the Canterbury region is one that's exercising a number of our minds at the moment, and planning is one of those. But planning is a little more advanced simply because of the reform of the Resource Management Act and the implications for that on councils, not the least of which is the need to develop a regional spatial plan. Is probably elevating the conversations that Brad's having with his colleagues a little further ahead than other services.
Councillor Everest.
Thank you. Just a question in terms of the reform of the RMA. As I understand it, we're going to have that legislation through in later September, or at least the draft through in later September. But what is that actually, what will that involve for you guys, and are you suitably resourced for that, given the changes that may be coming?
Yeah, so a lot of that will be addressed through the next long-term plan. It is going to need more resourcing. What that looks like is still relatively unclear, but that's what we're focused on at the moment, is trying to figure that out. It is a very fast process. We've only got the first reading at the moment, so it's very hard to know what will actually be at the end. So it is something that we're going to have to figure the best ways to achieve it, but the timing at the moment looks like it's going to be in that next long-term plan window.
So just to display my ignorance, I mean, do we work collaboratively between councils in terms of helping to solve that, or do we have to do our own little bit?
So the regional spatial plan is very much working as a region. It requires involvement from every council. For instance, it's something that's going to be developed together, but is notified by each council individually, which would be that is a very different process than what we've previously done. So that part of the process will be a lot of collaboration, but then the second half of it's going to be the land use chapter, and it's going to be very much, as long as we're giving effect to that regional spatial plan, it's going to be very much back down to just the district focus.
Thank you.
And just to refer to the matter of resources, we do have some additional resource in our annual plan for TAG specifically for the work on the spatial plan, because that's the most immediate impact of the reforms in terms of new work that needs to be done. And there are conversations across the region, planning managers, chief executives, shortly the mayors, on what the approach to that regional spatial plan should be to get it delivered in what will be a very short time frame once the law is passed. And the responsibility rests with the region to develop it. But how you do that, do you develop it in individual parts of the region and make a regional plan that way, or do you start with a regional view and populate a plan that way? And there are certainly a number of different conversations happening as to the best approach. In the end, the Chief Executives Forum for the region, which I'm part of, has been tasked by the Mayoral Forum to come up with a recommendation for the May meeting as to structures and approach. So there's an amount of scurrying around, even though we note the law hasn't changed yet, but we all expect the regional spatial plan to be a requirement regardless of the final form of the legislation. Yep.
Councillor Moffat.
I think this was tied in with RMA, but just stop me in my tracks if it doesn't. It's relation to that article you sent out the other day, Hamish, about the ECAN signing off more dairy conversions in Canterbury. Do you know how many of those are in mid-Canterbury and how that would affect the RMA?
We don't see all of the conversions, so we do see a lot in our team, in terms of consenting. We see it, the rule they tend to trigger is a farm building that's greater than 500 square metres, but there is the occasional dairy shed that's smaller, so we don't really have those numbers, unfortunately. That would be what ECAM would have also.
Thanks, Brett. Up next, page 45, Economic Development, Shelley Donnelly. Hey, Shelley.
Good morning.
Anything to add to your report?
No, nothing to add, thanks.
Questions, councillors? Liz.
Thank you. I've got one, Shelley. Just on the Business of the Year awards, do you send out a survey or do you get feedback on from people who attended on what they thought?
Yes, thank you through the chair. We have conducted a survey out to the businesses named as finalists. We only had 12 responses. We're just putting together those themes at the moment, and we also had an internal survey feedback session as well with staff that attended for various reasons, not just as staff but as partners of other business people. So we're just putting all of that information together at the moment, and then we'll meet with the RERA and talk through those findings.
Great, thank you.
One from me. How many kids went to the Kids Try Challenge?
Thank you. I can tell you 160 entered. I'm not quite sure how many turned up and competed.
About 130, thanks, Liz. Councillor Moffat.
With the Weber Brothers Circus coming to town in April, do you know if there are any animals in that circus, and do they need a special consent or licence or something to have animals here in that context?
Thank you through the chair. I don't believe there are any animals involved in the circus. I don't know if you've seen the TV program The Circus. It's the same. It's a reality show, New Zealand one. It's the same circus that is touring, which doesn't have animals in it. However, if they did, I believe that would be a RIC department.
Yeah, through the chair, I think it's probably outside of council's control primarily. It'll be under other legislation, I would imagine.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I drove past Weber's circus by the airport a couple of days ago. I didn't see any tigers, so I think you're safe. Just under Mayor's Task Force of Jobs, this month the King's Trust came to Ashburton. What is the King's Trust?
Thank you through the chair. The King's Trust used to be the Prince of Wales Trust, which has come through with King Charles now as our monarch. And I believe that it has been set up across all Commonwealth countries to help entrepreneurs and young people who are looking for a leg up to get into business or to get into some form of entrepreneurial endeavour. Thank you. And there's money put aside and channeled through various channeled through various platforms such as MSD or Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, and they bring together those people that are looking for that help, and it's run over a couple of days.
So it's government money, is it? Where's the money come from?
I believe, or no, I'm not 100% sure. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. It's not council funded though.
Shelley, in your highlights, you talk about the Chertsey Cafe reported hiring 2 new casual employers due to increase in visitors following some exposure from experience in Canterbury. That's really good. How do you choose what businesses to feature, and do they pay for that exposure?
Thank you. In terms of how to choose, Chertsey Cafe at that stage were reasonably new in opening, so that's how they were chosen in that instance. It can also depend on the specific campaign that we're running at the time, if it's a food and beverage highlight, if it's a summer getaway, if it's a romantic getaway. So those are the sorts of businesses that we would profile in that sense. We also like to work with the operators to ensure that they are up to standards that we want to promote. Not everybody is, but we work with the operators in the background to ensure that. There is no payment from any businesses to be part of any of our marketing campaigns.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. We had the CBD revitalisation project and had meetings, and they've done various things. It's just where to now, I suppose, with that. What's happening next?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. So the providers First Retail Group have left the district now, and they are away collating the feedback that they've received from the workshops and from various stakeholders. They'll be coming back hopefully this week with a sort of draft of what they've heard and seen, which will be shared back out with the people who have participated so far to make sure that it's correct and has been gathered correctly. And from there, a pathway will start being built as to what we can do next, what sort of initiatives we might be able to employ within the CBD. We're hoping to have that in hand and completed by mid-May.
Thank you. So that'll just follow through with your activity briefings reports to us so that we stay informed with what's happening.
Yes, to an extent, and when the report is completed, it will be presented.
Thank you.
The giveaway that received over 4,000 entries drove 300 new followers. What was that?
Thank you. That was it was a giveaway. I believe there was a night's accommodation at Braided Point. I think there was an Opoki Spa voucher and I think a food voucher as well. It was based on other places that Rhodey had been while we'd contracted them and captured really good footage, so we could use that again in the giveaway. The giveaway really was to show people what you can do for a weekend or night away in the district.
Cool. And so is Instagram a bit of a target market, the demographic there for council? I would have thought that was maybe on the young side for those interested in council activities, but you see it as a bit of a opening or opportunity?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity there for council to be able to get people involved. Absolutely.
Any further questions, councillors? Hey, Shelley. It brings us to a cup of tea time. We'll be back in 20. And first up, we're going to revisit finance before people and facilities. Hamish, you're going to look after this? And
yes, I apologise. Our finance representatives aren't in the building today, so I will perhaps try and answer any questions you may have, but more likely make a note of them and get the information you require as soon as possible afterwards.
So we're back to page 10. Questions, councillors?
Yes, I just
Millers?
think you just had one in probably just on fuel prices and what's council doing. We've got a lot of vehicles out there.
Yes, we're very conscious of the increase in fuel prices. We've done a number of things. We are asking our staff to not travel unless absolutely necessary. That includes air travel. We're asking to utilise virtual meeting platforms wherever it is possible and sensible to do so. We're asking staff to carpool if they are going to a meeting and there's someone else from this organisation going. We're conscious of some of our staff who travel to work from a distance, and we want them to continue to be employed here. So we're having conversations about our remote working policy for those that travel the furthest, to be a little bit flexible around them having to spend less time potentially in vehicles. We've also put it now as a standing item on the exec team agenda every week. And we've done some, led by Tony, who's done some really good work having a look at the actual amount of fuel that we use, and having that based knowledge is giving us some really good data about how we go as we move forward. The bulk of the fuel we do consume is in the open spaces area, as you can imagine, particularly the diesel. The petrol is spread out much more evenly, but the diesel is dominated by open spaces. So we're doing all those things, keeping a close watch on it. I'm also been in conversations with a number of other territorial authority chief executives in the Canterbury region, and we're sort of sharing intel about initiatives that each of us are starting to examine and put in place for our organisations. We're also having a little bit of impact in those organisations that we are affiliated to, but aren't internal. So we had an economic development regional forum, which I chair last week, and we made the call to have that online, so everybody didn't have to travel. And I think, as council knows, I'm on the Tatura board, and we've just pushed them to have the next Tatura meeting online rather than travel to Wellington. So there's a whole range of things that we think are just perfectly sensible, but it's on watch because it needs to be continually monitored and thought about.
Thank you, and I guess the same could go with council workshops or meetings. So say if we had a 1 or a 2 hour workshop on one day and that was the only thing, there would be the option for people to join online instead of travelling in. And I suppose for me, if I've got an event that is one-off and I'm travelling down, I may ask town councillors to cover for me. So, just being conscious of that.
I agree. All very sensible. In fact, I did have a conversation with a councillor last week about thinking about teams if the trip to Ashburton was relatively short or could be accommodated by virtual attendance.
Thank you.
Councillor Moffat.
Just out of my own curiosity, does council buy fuel in bulk, and do we have our own storage facility where council for the big vehicles fill up with their diesel or whatever, or are they rolling up to the petrol pump and buying it that way?
No, we do have some limited storage at the Domain for the Open Spaces team, and we do purchase our fuel for the fleet vehicles via the all of government arrangement with BP. So we don't pay the named price at the Bowser because of that all of government contract that we're part of. So, but their increases are still there, and they're coming through against all of those arrangements nonetheless.
Councillor Everest.
I just see there's work underway, so page 10 on the annual report. And I'm just, I guess, wanting to know a little bit about how that will be impacted on, based on last year's audit, please.
Yes, we've having conversations both with the exec team and across the management group more generally, that we want a far more cohesive and connected early approach to the annual report, getting the data ready, and that it's not any one person's responsibility to prepare information ahead of audit coming in, but we need everyone to commit to what is needed to deliver a more streamlined process for the annual report this year. So those conversations are being had. I've having them directly with some staff that are more intimately involved in that process, but everyone's got to regard it as a priority in order to have a smoother process this year. So work in progress, but it's on our watch list. It's on the exec team's watch list. Again, we have it as a weekly item now on our exec agenda as we're approaching the annual report. We expect everybody to commit to what they need to do to make the organisation's annual report go well.
So I guess, may I just a supplement? So just following on that, for the same people, we've got the annual plan, and then we've got an LTP coming as well. You know, like last year, obviously they were under severe pressure with timing. Do we have that under control? And we wouldn't want to be late again if we could possibly help it, but they've got a lot of pressures on.
I think we're better placed. We're better placed because it's on our radar because of the bumpy ride last year, and therefore we're having conversations much earlier and expecting timetable, expecting people to commit to what they need to do, but when they say they'll do it far more readily, and each of the GMs and myself are acutely aware of that and will be demanding that of the whole organisation. And secondly, the split with the finance manager's role and the systems accountant, system manager's role means that we have a better focus on each of those pieces of work. That's essentially when Gordon joined us, and the focus has been divided. So we have high hopes for a more focused approach from that, as well as on our radar much earlier.
Thank you, Hamish.
Thanks, Phil. Looks like it. So people and facilities. Sarah Mosley coming up, and no Amanda. So you're looking after council services, Sarah?
Yes, I am.
Is there anything to add?
No, it's just an interesting trend in terms of the overall uplift, I guess, between 25-26 with previous years for this customer requests.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just the rates rebates. Are we sort of more proactive in this area, or are ratepayers now educated to apply? So are we, I know we go out to Methven and Require and that sort of thing, so we are being more proactive in that area, are we?
Yes, a combination, but we always were proactive in this space. What has changed is actually the thresholds to apply. So that has been for the uplift is the reason.
Councillor Gilkison.
Hi, Sarah. Just with regards to the customer requests raised, is that anything by phone, email and SnapSim Solve?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So even it could just be the popularity of SnapSim Solve means that you get more requests?
Yes, the SnapSim Solve then turns into a customer request, so then officers connection at all contractors.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll welcome up Jane Riak to talk about the Ashburton Library. Hi, Jane.
Good morning.
Anything to add to your report?
No.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Wilson.
It's a shout out probably. I had a call from a person the other day, which I wouldn't have thought would have thought about the library, but he took his grandkids there and he said it was the second time he'd been here and he was very, very impressed. So he was probably a naysayer at the start and now he was a yes sayer. So that's a good outcome.
That's lovely to hear. We do get a little bit of that. People bringing grandchildren in particular, and really enjoying the facility and enjoying the way that their children are using grandchildren are using the facility too. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you.
Liz.
Thank you. Just on the first graph of the visitation, and just looks like slightly dropping off, even though the numbers are really high. Is there any reason for that, or is it because everything else looks like it's tracking normally? Is it just numbers through the door?
Through the chair, yes. We've actually been looking at this quite closely because we were confused. It doesn't feel to us like January and February were quieter. So we're just actually doing a bit of work in the background just to check that things are working as they should do with the door counters. We're also constantly monitoring our offerings and just making sure that the attendance at programs and things that we're running is still as good as we expect it to be, and if not, why not? So yeah, we're watching.
Yeah.
Councillor Everest.
So just for clarity, is the visitation, the supplementary question to the Mayor, is that visitation just people in the door total, or is that people that are actually going to the library part of it, please?
There are door counters on each of the doors for the building, so by default it's anyone coming into the building.
So it may be, Mayor Liz, that you're doing such a good job that the people are not banging your door down.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. It's quite interesting though, while visitations were back in January, February, when you look at the next graph, books taken is still up. So you're either giving more books to less people, or maybe, I don't know, but so it didn't collate really together.
Oh, that was one of the other things that we looked at as well, was that the issues of books were still tracking really well. So yeah, we're very pleased with that.
I think, Mr. Chair, too, the previous answer around the visitation, if there's a people counter on each door, those are visits to Te Whare Whakatiri as opposed to specifically the library, and the explanation between those numbers and issues remaining really high and activities remaining well supported could well be other visitors less, but we record it here as one and we put it in the library's report, but it needs further analysis to understand exactly what's going on when, as Jane says, they're doing that.
Any further questions? I wanted to say to the staff, keep up the good work with the reels. They're really good. They're funny, especially the reading book one. I don't know who came up with that, but that was really good. So it sort of adds a nice human element to the librarians, which I think is cool. So.
Thank you. I'll pass that on. Stacey works really hard on our social media.
Noticed you haven't featured yet, Jane. Challenge. Thanks, Jane. EA Network Centre. Jenny Soul stepping in for Richard Wood.
Yes, and just to explain Richard's absence, he's currently assisting Waitaki District Council with the build-up, pre-commissioning stage of their 8-court stadium. So he's working down there part-time for the next few weeks.
Cool. Is there anything to add to your report, Jenny?
Thank you. Through the chair, no, not today.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Just on pool visitations, obviously last year we were closed in January. Were we closed this year? Because the graph just goes straight up compared to last year.
Thank you. Through the chair, we did not have a shutdown this year.
Okay.
There is one pool getting shut down during the April holidays for 1 week of them as part of our routine maintenance. So that would have potentially been a January task, but because all the other pools can remain open except the one that we're working on at the one time, we've pushed it to April.
Councillor Wilson.
I see on page 68 we're ongoing collaboration with ANZCO Foods towards establishing members of pathways for at-risk or managing high-risk health concerns. Do we look to expand that with some of the other big employers in the district? Is it, or is that a one-off, or what's your thoughts on that one?
Thank you to the Chair. This is a new initiative that we've started at the gym, and this is running as a pilot. Should ANZCO Foods see to be successful, we will look to expand that towards other companies.
Yeah, Liz.
Thank you. I'm on page 72 on the mini golf update, and it looks like there's just still a huge amount of people going through. But do you record the numbers for disc golf as well, or is that still popular? Are you still seeing a lot of people out on the disc golf course?
Through the Chair, yes, the disc golf is still very popular. We currently do not have anything monitoring the numbers as such, as people can bring their own disc golfs to the course.
Yeah, but you still hire the discs if
Yes,
needed.
we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we could report on the hiring, but a lot of people have their own equipment, and also there is an app that Richard can follow and use to see the numbers, but that's also pending people using the app and be part of that system to record it. So both with mini golf and disc golf, our numbers are the best we have available. We know they won't capture everything because they literally don't, given the availability for people to use the courses by their free will. It's an estimate in what we can provide.
Just another question. So when you scan the QR code to do your scoring for the mini golf, can you track, is that through an app? So can you track the numbers through that, or is it only through hireage of the clubs?
It's hireage and booking.
Yeah.
The scorecard's actually just a web platform, so it doesn't require you to sign in or anything like that. So that's where the tracking is lost. So yes, it's our best guess is based on the information we have.
I can talk a wee bit to the disc golf, even though I'm not really playing much. They have a local league now, and that goes really good. The Ashburton Open that they host each year sells out in a matter of hours. The Ashburton course is well regarded throughout South Island and New Zealand, so yep, it's ticking away pretty nicely. Any further questions for Jenny? Thanks, Jenny. Well done. Up next, it is the Ashburton Art Gallery Museum. Sharon, page 73, councillors. Morning. Anything further to add to your report?
No, nothing more to add.
Just a special morning, being Shireen's last activity briefing for a while, pre-parental leave, and the plan was to introduce you to Hubert, our new director, while Shireen's on leave, but he is absent today due to illness, unfortunately.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Cameron.
I don't have a question, Shireen, but on behalf of us all, if I may speak on behalf of us all, I'd like to wish you all the best, and we'll no doubt hear what happens, when and where. So all the best, and keep in touch.
Hopefully what happens is a baby will come.
I'm sure.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Yep, that is what happens. Yeah. Just the, I suppose the graphs are showing upward trends. Was the graph last year, was that combined between the museum and Art Gallery last year, or is it just this year's graph?
Thank you, through the chair. It was last year.
Okay.
The year before, I believe it was partly combined. I have to refresh myself on that one to give you an accurate answer of when that transition happened. But we have just noticed an uplift in visitation and engagement with our programs. You'll notice on the second page, the breakdown of the school classes and the public programs. You'll see that that's where really the uplift is in terms of the numbers that are coming through the doors in that way. And we are now on a digital counting system, so we've removed that kind of human error of our volunteers and staff physically counting at the door, especially when we have large events and openings, which can be really quite challenging for the count to be accurate. So the digital count is aiding in that as well.
Councillor Everest.
So it shows a 30% increase year on year. It didn't quite show to me that it was all related to activity programs. I mean, is it just that we've actually got a different range of things available and we're getting more per visit? You know, more of those activities are getting more people per visit?
Through the chair, yes, I would say that our activities have increased as well. So in terms of our offerings, they've increased year on year in terms of our education programs, school bookings, and the free public programs that we offer. And those numbers are also increasing. The number of people attending those things are increasing, which is really encouraging for us to see. Yeah.
Through the chair, the What's On guide over the January period, which this report covers January and February, there was a really neat activity that normally is hosted solely in the Art Gallery Museum with the Santa Hunt, but that extended out to the other facilities, being EA Network Centre and also the library. So there was a really cool combination of people sort of going from one facility to the other to complete the activity. So, and those sort of things just bring awareness to what council does offer in each facility and how different they are, but all the same enjoyable and worthwhile. So it's been really positive.
Millers.
Thank you. And with the extra visitation, are you noticing more sales down in your shop, especially now it's moved downstairs and sort of a bit more accessible to everyone?
Through the chair, we haven't done a full analysis of that. We will be doing that at the end of June when we do our stock take and a really good look at how the shop's performed. Generally speaking, though, the engagement with the shop is higher. So we've got regular patterns of sales through the shop, which is really great. But whether what is being purchased is the higher end expensive items or cards and smaller things, I'll have to get back to you in terms of a clear analysis on that. But we will hopefully see an uplift once the shop is online and the reach is beyond the walls, essentially, and people can shop online. So hopefully that's when we'll see a significant uplift.
Yep, thank you, and all the best from me, and looking forward to the news.
Councillor Moffat.
I'm just interested in an update on the rebranding to Rokoferia and wondering about the time scale for that. Is the actual building itself going to have new signage? Just an update on all of those things.
There's a report coming to council for next week, so all that information will be discussed by you next week.
Any further questions? Thank you. Good luck. Community and open spaces. And first up, it's not Janice. Not much gets past me. Hi, Dan. Welcome. Anything further to add to your report?
No, thank you. Through the chair, happy to take questions.
Questions, councillors? Page 78, by the way.
just got a
Yeah, Liz.
question. Thank you. Dan, just on the key metrics, and you've got social media reach, which is 1.5 million people, or I guess views. Current period, is that the financial year, or is that what's the current period? What does that mean? Is it just these 2 months?
Yes, through the chair, we believe it's the last 2 months.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good reach.
Councillor Everest.
So my highlight on that was, so how does it change between years, please?
Through the chair, I'd have to go look at past years about how it compares. We are getting steady growth on our page, so our followers continues to climb. So I imagine the reach also climbs. But there are periods where it spikes, where we've got a particularly large event or a civil defence event. We get a lot of people coming to our page, so there will be spikes where you might get 1 million reach in 1 month, and others where it'll be a bit lower. But I would expect the trend over time will be growing along with our page followers.
Thank you.
Councillor Moffat.
With the resident survey, I'm wondering how often the questions and subject matter changes in the survey. Is it pretty much the same each survey, or do you have new things that you quiz people about?
Thank you, through the chair. So the annual resident survey is largely unchanged year on year. A lot of the metrics that we're gathering there are a part of our LTP non-performance measure framework. So we're trying to get longitudinal data so we can actually see how we're trending over time. We do have the flex each year to change questions in and around it, but we're always really conscious it's a big survey. We're always trying to streamline where we can, because nothing worse than getting asked to do a survey and then being told it's possibly 15 minutes of your life to work through it. So we're always conscious of what does come out or what does go in, that we're trying to take something out along the way.
Okay, any further questions, councillors? No, good to go. Dan, thanks. Up next, Mark Lowe, Strategy and Policy, page 81. Morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Anything to add to your report, mate?
No, nothing to add.
Questions? Liz.
Thank you. Mark, you've got the long-term plan, or the project plan of how that will go, and I see we've already got a couple of dates in our calendars for this year, which is good to see. So are you looking at doing sort of that community engagement similar to what we did a few years ago?
There's probably two opportunities. One's the sort of formal engagement that we do every LTP, which will be sort of the start of 2027. So it'll be the sort of March to April period. The other opportunity is doing a bit of a pre-engagement.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, the pre-engagement.
Some topics related to the LTP. At this stage, we're still on the sort of planning consideration phase for that, but obviously we'll talk to you about that as to whether you think there's particular issues that you might want to ask the community about at this point.
Thank you.
Councillor Gilkison.
I've just got a question about the sports field and domains policy that's been delayed. Does that include reserve boards? Only just because I was asked about this at a reserve board meeting last week about some changes they might like to see, but we didn't know where it sat.
Yes, it sort of does. It's quite a complicated policy, so that's sort of part of the reason why it's delayed, just to work out what we actually need in that space and what the appropriate scope of it is going forward in terms of the open spaces and its relationship with the reserve boards. So potentially yes, but part of that's sort of the work that we're doing to understand what's needed.
It just as a bit of background to that, when the policy was first developed, we didn't have reserve management plans sitting across all of our reserves throughout the district like we do now. And so now that the policy is up for review, it's actually aligning what's already been covered through the reserve management plan, which does cover some of our reserves managed by the reserve boards. So there's quite a bit to unpack in and around that space, but we're getting there.
Councillor Wilson.
I see we've put in our submission on simplifying local government, and I understand there was a lot of submissions went into it. I hear through the grapevine that ECAN has been promoting itself very well, and it has been, and it looks like it's changed the spots a bit, but tigers change their spots and then they still eat you. So with respect to simplifying government, what are we doing to, because we put a submission in, but it's a bigger, this is still going to bubble along. We can't put a submission and wait and see what happens. What are we doing in the interim to forward our position and to cement where we think this could land and what it means for us as a council?
I think this simplifying local governments and the discussion paper in our submission is in a couple of parts. So part of it was the formation of the Combined Territories Board, the regional councillors no longer having a role, and the CTB, as it was called, taking over the governance function of the regional council. I think that piece of the simplifying local government is under review. If we read between the lines from what we hear, that potentially the minister is rethinking that whole process. So that's the kind of the front end and obvious piece of that simplifying work. The second piece is the regional shared services or cooperation or efficiencies that the CTB was then charged with preparing over a 2-year period. And I think the Minister the other day on a relatively short webinar suggested that an amount of the feedback was don't wait till 2029 to get that underway. And so we are having some conversations at a chief executive level, I'm sure the Mayor is as well, around what shared services or reorganisation may look like for us. And I think we've reported on the session that we were at recently where Government New Zealand hosted a range of speakers who are starting to refer to shared services rather more than sort of full-scale reorganisation. So that's another layer of where is that heading. So I think it's work that is sitting there. There is a need for collectively for it to be grabbed and activated in a way that it probably isn't yet. And I think a number of councils are potentially waiting to see what the Minister does with that whole simplifying local government discussion paper in response to the feedback. And then finally, I should say, I know the Mayoral Forum, and particularly the chair of the Mayoral Forum, is trying to activate some of those conversations ahead of whatever it is that the Minister wants to do. So it's a little bit of a melting pot, but the most immediate thing around the future of the regional councillors and the CTB, I think we may see a change when the Minister releases his next commentary or draft legislation.
I understand that, but I just would probably like to flag that we need to be thinking about what we want along the way, because otherwise it'll get to the end and we'll be told what we want. So we need to be really pushing what we want, because there's something about Rome standing around while Rome burns is something that jumps to my mind. So I think we need, because there is a feel in our community that while we're waiting for this to happen, they're still paying all the price with consents and paying they're having to fight the battle in the meantime. So we need to be flagging those things that are happening and just, keeping the pot boiling the way we think.
Yeah, acknowledge that, and I should have said in my brief summary that the other overlay here is the Resource Management Act reform, and there is a need to see how that finally comes out of the Select Committee process and goes to Parliament for its passage as to what some of the implications in the consenting type area will be for all the various councils involved in that system. So there's another overlay that is not yet certain.
Melis.
And I was just going to add that Minister Watts was online to say that we'd probably get an update in a couple of weeks, but I was also going to ask Mark if you'd heard anything along that timeline as well.
Not really.
No.
We're just waiting for the minister to work through their process and come back. So no, there hasn't been a lot of scuttlebutt around that at the moment.
Yeah, and what I did hear was there were about 1,200 submissions to simplifying local government. Majority wanted things to happen quicker than 2029. So I think that's, and we've all got it in the back of our mind that we need to talk and work things out. So we'll definitely be doing that.
Thanks, Liz. Councillor Everest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question on the Canterbury Climate Partnership Plan, Action 7, what is that and where are we at?
That is, we're responsible for looking across the region in terms of climate change work that's happening in councils and how we can sort of share knowledge across a range of levels, really, from a governance officer level in terms of best practice. It's sort of a bit of a deep dive into what's happening and what good practice is and how we can share that and use that knowledge across the region.
What sort of resources are we putting into that, Mark?
We have one person who's doing that work when they have time, so it's not a heavy workload. Yeah, at this stage, it's still sort of a work in progress. There's no time frame on that at this stage, but probably would look, and it's working with others across the region as well. It's not just us doing it.
So, Mr. Chair, I was on the working group earlier in the week on that. Sorry, I'm speaking to the microphone. I've got the hard eye. And there's serious questions being raised in terms of affordability and whether it's core business amongst the members. And so I think the chair and the ECAN that are driving it are coming back to council within a month in terms of following some of that up. So
Great.
maybe we just don't need to put the foot on the throttle too hard.
I think that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that particular action is not a high cost action. It's very much an internal use of resource.
Thanks, Mark. Councillor Cameron.
Thanks. On the data and statistics census amendment bill, and I think we do a census every 5 years, and I think it's been pushed back a little bit, and they want us to do sort of an annual sort of count. How would council be involved in that, or how would you do that? Like sort of jump in and take a representative area, or how would that be? I notice you're still deciding whether to submit or not, I think, but can you help me understand how that would be achieved?
I mean, we're not specifically involved in the census apart from supporting the work that CNZ do. That particular act is about implementing the new approach to the census, which will kick in from 2030, which effectively will remove the overall 5-year census that we've all been used to and replace it with an annual census where they'll measure a number of or survey a number of people across the country, but also use existing admin data and combine that to provide the sorts of stats that councils and others need.
Yeah, may I ask another question? Yeah, that's what I sort of had a brief read of it. I understand that, but would they not come to council for that data, or do they have is there another source of that data that they can access? I presume in our district, the council would be the best source of data. I'm assuming, I don't know, but...
Well, I mean, there's a whole range of data sources that through government departments potentially they might use some anecdotal district information, potentially rates information. I mean, we don't know at this stage.
Okay, so you don't anticipate any extra burden on your time or resource to help with counting people in the district?
Yes or no to that. Potentially there will be some time commitment. I mean, we're always involved in supporting it because it's obviously important to our long-term planning and all the work that we're doing. So we sort of want to remain involved and make sure that it's meeting the needs of both the organisation and the district.
Hamish?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I understand it, the admin data is overwhelmingly held by government, central government. It swamps any other source. If you think of health, education, justice, all the government, all the records that they have. And I did receive a presentation on this in the details of the change last week, and I wonder whether if it was of value to council to understand the change, because there is no longer going to be a 5-yearly census form filled out, and there are some downsides but some overwhelming upsides to the new way of processing a census. So we could perhaps look to give councillors a more detailed update from Stats New Zealand if that was of value to you.
May I speak? I would really appreciate that, because it's long been a source of frustration, I suspect, and mine, because we have different growth rates and different population statistics. If I could get sort of an understanding of how they'll use that, because we've got new developments going on, and we just heard from Michael about the extra growth in the district. It would be nice to know how the government, Big Brother and all, but how the government get that data to update annually and how that happens. I'd appreciate that, Hamish.
Okay, we'll look to see what we can put in place.
Any more questions for Mark? Oh, thank you, Mark. Memorial Halls and Reserve Boards. Anne Smith. Welcome, page 88. Morning, Anne. Anything to add to your report? Okay, questions for Anne. Councillor Cameron.
I have a comment to make on the Timwood Memorial Hall Board, and the people that were at the volunteer day probably will not hear this, but I was so gratified and so delighted to see the community attend, putting plastic things on the bottom of the chairs, cleaning the hall, taking the little nails and all sorts of things out of the wall. A huge number of volunteers turned up to a clean-up day after we've had it resealed, and it was very, very gratifying, and there's certainly community spirit and interest in the Timwood Memorial Hall.
Awesome. Councillor Wilson.
A couple of things, if I may. The Mount Somers Reserve Board, it's probably a process thing, because we had the Reserve Board came to the council and we looked at it and said, yes, go ahead and shut it in the community. There was an uproar in the community, so I went up to the community meeting, and now it's changed. So can you just, Tony, probably it's almost just, can you explain us how that works? Because we want to empower reserve boards, but the council is involved in that too. How this is unfolding, just so that I can understand the process.
Sure thing. Where do I start? So the Reserve Board set the direction and set their intention late last year, which the council supported. The reason we brought it to council to support was because it was a level of service change, effectively, for up there. Following the consultation process, the Reserve Board are pretty keen to see if they can consider keeping the campground open in a different way in the summer period. So their intention is to close the campground after Easter for winter and have a proper shutdown, look at what their options are, and propose next steps to council, which will come back to council for formal ratification. We got caught in a bit of a need to make a decision, because there was an employment part to it, but actually the final decision, what the shape going forward looks like, will come back to council for council ratification at that point. So I appreciate it was a little bit out of step. However, that they haven't locked and loaded their final thinking yet. They're still doing some work in that, and they're pretty motivated to do so.
Thank you. And another question, mate.
Sure.
The triennial meetings, I see Seafield and Chertsey haven't got there quite yet. Where are they at the moment?
Seafield is tonight, and Chertsey have locked in the 16th of April.
And my last, it's a comment, the Hines Reserve Board have shifted the plaques on the Memorial Hall swimming pool, and I say that widely, and are putting them in place. I'm just sure the community would be interested in that, because Anzac memorials are very sacred things, so they are being put back with care and attention as it was.
Thanks for that update. Councillor Moffat.
Just wondering if there's an update on the Ashburton Forks Green Street Reserve Board, Paul. They were talking about perhaps having some freedom camping on site. Do you know if they've had any more progress on making a decision around that?
I spoke with our open spaces manager and relayed what he told me, and I think they've probably chosen to not go down that path because there's just comes a lot of rules and regulations with it.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Timberwood Reserve Board, there's sort of a bit more bubbling away there. There's the old swimming pool site, which I'd still probably like some more information on as a council. But also in our heritage park, things are not probably as smooth in there as our community would like, because it is a thing there that the community like to use, and we'd like to see a big happy team in there. And just wondering, is there a pathway forward for this, or what's happening?
Thank you, through the chair. So I'll deal with the pool site first. Yes, the Timberwood Reserve Board have now got a proposal into us. We will bring it to council in April for what their thinking is and around that site, and seeking to request what next steps look like from council. So that is in-house and underway. The Plains Heritage Park, there are some challenges there with one user group, and one user group is making some decisions on behalf of others that is impacting their open and running days. So there are two things that are in train. Two key parties have agreed just as of yesterday to attend mediation at a date to be confirmed in mid to late April. So we'll get that locked and loaded by the end of the week. And then the other aspect to that is the other user groups that are being impacted by this one user group's decision making. I do plan on having conversation with them around what next steps look like for them and what they see their future being.
Councillor Wilson.
It's normally we see reserve boards struggling for people and wanting to shut in at something, but if a community, and I'm talking about Fiat, decided that they wanted to take some reserve land we have and turn it into a community reserve, like Rakaia, or one of these, it's a public space, how would they go about that?
Thank you. That's a great question. We do have some interested community members out at Fiat that are looking to take over a piece of land out there. However, what we need them to do is to come along to council and make that request formally, so that then it can be considered as a part of an annual plan and LTP discussion, depending on the timing. We would need to see probably quite a level of community support. 3 or 4 interested parties probably doesn't give and demonstrate us enough community support that we have got the backing of the community to do it. If it was to become a part of open spaces, of course there's going to be operating costs, but likewise there are operating costs if it's managed by a reserve board in terms of a little bit of council money, but also volunteer contribution also. So, yeah.
Just so can I clarify? So when you say come to council, where do you mean? Do you mean to a council meeting? Do they come to you, or how would they? Who would they?
So the advice that's been given is for them to come along to a council meeting and speak at a public forum with what their proposal is.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just under grants and funding, there's only a few days left until it closes. Just wondering, has there been an influx in the last few days as per normal?
There has been. It usually works that way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thanks, Anne. Next is Mercedes Walcombe. Welcoming Communities, page 90. Good morning. Anything further? Questions, councillors?
I've got a question.
Ellis.
Thank you. Mercedes, the first home buyers seminar, was that mainly who attended that? Was it just sort of anyone in the district, or mainly migrants?
We had a really interesting mix. We had people who had been here for their whole lives, and then we had a few members of the migrant community, including one of our former refugee youth.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Nice. Councillor Moffat.
Hi, Mercedes. Just wondering what the turnout was like for the cultural awareness talk on Afghanistan.
We had really good numbers, about 25 people, and there are some pictures on the Welcoming Communities Facebook page. Lots of questions. because of the person who was speaking, was very useful to health organizations.
So the people that attended, were they Afghani people or no?
No, so it's mainly community organizations, emergency services, and teachers and health organizations. Yeah.
Councillor Everest.
Just interested in the 22nd of April Welcome Communities in Ashburton. We've been invited to speak to Welcoming America, which seemed amazing. Hopefully we'll speak to Donald as well. But just wondering what that's going to involve in terms of sharing our insights from our food festival and its improvements, please.
So we're going to tell the story about how the project came to life and how it has been improving with the years, and how we have managed to collaborate among council departments to make it a meaningful event and the community.
And the changes and improvements looking forward?
Well, it's mainly telling them how we started and how it has improved in the last 3 years.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. G'day, Mercedes. The Ashburton Settlement and Migrant Committee that I used to chair and no longer do, we were always looking at having perhaps a person from a former refugee community or perhaps a migrant member on that committee, and reading about the governance training and things. Has that progressed any further?
We have a migrant representative.
Oh, good.
Well, we will have at the next meeting on Monday next week. And we're still working on getting a refugee.
And those people will be a permanent member of the committee?
Yes.
Great. Well done. Yep.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Organising a meet and greet our elected members, is that us, our meeting? Do you know when that will be taking place at this stage or not?
I have the date here, sorry. It's in April. It is the 24th of April.
And I was just going to comment, so that we, last term, and probably the term before, Mayor Brown would host sort of a lunch with some of the former refugee community, and it looks like it's just been extended to a meet and greet, which sounds good.
Any further questions? Nope. Thanks, Mercedes. Okay, open spaces, Ian Soper, page number 92. Morning, Ian.
Morning.
Anything to add to your report?
No, Mr. Chairman, happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
G'day, Ian. Last week we did a bus tour and we spent some time in Methven and we looked at the footpaths, and I know that is Mark's department, not your department, but we also looked at like squares and chipped and lighting and a whole lot of things, and lawn mowing and weed spraying and things that I think are your department, and I've assumed that sort of work is business as usual. Would I be correct in that? Like Methven doesn't have its own special sort of, that would be something you would look after?
Yes, through the chair, we have a role which is called the Methven townsperson, so that does a manner of work up there, but we also have a team of gardeners which do the rural servicing of Rakaia and Methven, among other areas, and they do the general garden maintenance of the spraying and items you mentioned.
So is that the team here, or is that the groundsperson in Methven?
Both roles are based out of Ashburton.
Okay, sure. Can I make some comments?
Absolutely.
There was a tree removed, and I think I showed Tony, did I show? And the asphalt has sunken where the tree was pulled out, and I don't know how long ago the tree was removed, but that's actually reasonably dangerous, and given this is a most beautiful tourist sort of resort town, that would be nice if that could be repaired. There was a broken step, and I don't know if that's you, but there's a broken step as you go up to the Mount Hout Hall, and that looks pretty rough. There was a lot of weeds and a lot of bricks needed cleaning. I understand that's an ongoing maintenance concern, the pavers, and that needs dealt with, but there's quite a lot of work and of course the lighting, which I think you're onto. Is that lighting going to be repaired prior to winter?
Through the chair, that's correct. That is the direction I've been given by EA Networks.
Do you look after the lighting?
Only the amenity lighting in the area in front of the hall.
Oh, okay. So who looks after the lighting the lighting that looks up into the trees and perhaps twinkly light lighting? Who's that?
A lot of the tree lighting was a community initiative, and that's what's still being worked through. Okay. So the only aspect of lighting that I am looking after is the new lighting, the uplighting and ground lighting under the trees in front of the blue pub between the
okay.
The
so
hall.
that will be repaired and fixed.
That's correct.
And then we're waiting for a report on or if the tree lighting occurs in Methven. Is that correct?
Yes, that's via the community board.
Great. And then the lighting in Ashburton, this is my last question with your indulgence.
Thank you.
In Ashburton, when is that going to happen, down the main street?
The extension that's been so far approved through this process ultimately flagged for 1 July.
Marvellous. Thank you.
Thereafter.
So I don't have to, you'll get onto those little bits of things? Thank
yes,
you.
there's several departments involved there, so we'll have internally some collaborative conversations.
Thanks.
Councillor Moffat.
Hi, I noticed in the report that none of the lights at the skate park were working. Can you explain how none of them were working and how much it cost to replace them all?
Yes, through the chair, we've got it scheduled for replacement next week. Approximately $6,000 or $7,000 is required. The issue with why they were out, it appears that it wasn't picked up by the street lighting contractor. Did come to our attention via a customer service request. So a lot appear to have been vandalised. So stones and the like suitably targeted.
So when they're replaced, can you get around that happening again?
Through the chair, probably not. It's one of those aspects. If it is a vandalism related item, then that becomes, if it happens, it happens, and we have to deal with it when it does.
Is there CCTV down there?
Through the chair, look, we're not quite sure if that actually covers that area or not, possibly.
Sarah?
Yes, there is some there.
Councillor Wilson?
It's stock water. I keep probably harping on about this, but as we roll through the process, we're getting closer to the Tynwald pond and the Ashburton pond. Have you put your mind to, what's required or what you think needs to happen to keep those two, wonderful recreational facilities in their current state with regards to stock? Because it'd be great if we could have your input along the way so when we get to that point, we're not chasing our tail, we can forward think it.
Yes, through the chair, I have charged our open spaces planner and biodiversity advisor with doing some groundwork there, and that's currently underway, even to the extent that today our biodiversity advisor is out doing some DNA sampling to help inform those conversations.
Ellis.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk on public conveniences, and I know a few years ago we had a workshop which sort of listed which public conveniences were due to be replaced or do something with. So how are we tracking on that? I know the Lake Huron and the Rakaia South Rivermouth ones are going in this financial year. Have we got plans for next year? When will we see that?
Yes, through the chair, those two that you mentioned are underway now, and they will happen in the coming months this financial year. The plan overall is tracking in accordance with Council's direction at the LTP, so we're on track in terms of the delivery and the change-outs that have been agreed. Next year we have got Mount Somers as the public convenience block on the domain is the one in question, and we've already had some tentative discussions with the Reserve Board around what that could look like given their current plans and questions that they're working through themselves.
Thank you. And as you know, I've had a bit of feedback on the Lake Huron toilets. People worried that because it's so busy up there now, 2 toilets won't be enough. So that would come back to the LTP for us to look at if there was another 2 that may be required.
Yes, that's right. And through the chair, there'll be, as part of the asset management plan, we are working through what we as staff believe is required by the community, and then that will ultimately feed through to yourselves and the council for ultimate decision through the LTP process based upon the asset management plan and what it proposes, and then you obviously have the right to have some discussions and input there and ultimately decide what we do accept and adopt and propose going forward.
Thank you. And just one more question, just on that break-in, which just seems crazy. So the theft of air extraction, ventilation systems, solar panels and batteries, how much is that going to cost us to replace?
Several $1,000s.
Follow up on that, Ian, I had it highlighted as well. Is the solar panel and the batteries all about the extraction and the ventilation?
Through the chair, that's correct. Yes, it charges during the day and just keeps the fan running if there's no breeze and keeps that extraction going. That's part of the process with a dry vault system.
So if it continues to happen and cost us thousands, could you just say, look, leave the door open? Or
Potentially.
Window. Councillor Gilkison.
Just looking at the biodiversity, you've got quite a few planned community volunteering events. They're in conjunction with a lot of community groups, but are they open to everyone, and where do you advertise them?
Through the chair, they are advertised by our communications department, so they'll go out far and wide. Some groups do come to council and say we would like to have some input in a particular event. So some that are nominated, we will have an event where a specific group want to do something and maybe they have a specific area of interest. So we try to accommodate that interest and level of interest where we can. It helps to build the community input and knowledge as well. But apart from that, the other general days are open to all. And they are communicated to the community.
Councillor Moffat.
Sorry, I'm going back to the skate park. So with the CCTV, has anyone actually looked through that footage to see if they could find out and identify those responsible and perhaps refer the footage to the appropriate agency?
Through the chair, CCTV footage is valuable when you know the time, the date of when the event happened. We don't have any of those details. It takes a significant amount of time and a significant amount of money if you don't have that information. So with the information we have, it wouldn't be a wise investment for council to do so. But if we do have more specifics, then we do use CCTV where we can.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it's $7,000 a pop to replace it if it happens as soon as they're replaced again, you know.
Councillor Everest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ian, just interested in, it's page 95, but just in terms of looking at characterising the biodiversity values and threats within the New Zealand landscape. I presume that means Mid-Canterbury. It should actually read Mid-Canterbury landscape, which I'm just interested because we're looking to put a student through that project perhaps to do it. And I guess my question is, what knowledge do we have about biodiversity now in terms of protecting its existing values and enhancing it? Sorry, Mr. Hooper. And enhancing that, and where is ADC in terms of gaining that knowledge? It seems like it's been all referred to consents section or consent holders applications. It's on 94 and 95.
Through the chair, the Council's ecologist and biodiversity advisor holds the majority of that knowledge and his technical and professional expertise. We do have a lot of community expertise, particularly in the underlying groups which run the Harris Reserve, that have been proactive for many, many years in this district alone on protecting and enhancing and increasing the public lens over the local biodiversity. We've got a wider link with the regional council and its biodiversity staff. They generally have more of a wider Canterbury-wide lens, and then they have the linkage with the more national lens through central government departments, which do have also a lens on biodiversity nationwide. So it becomes a little more granular when you get down to a specific district, but primarily here it's with the staff and with the local members of the community that are very active in that space.
Should DOC be involved in some of that, Ian?
Sorry, I probably omitted. DOC are also, yes, they are one of those stakeholders that we regularly connect with along with the regional council, and obviously they do have a national lens in their activities.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. From an earlier question around food trucks, 16 food trucks registered here at ADC, 3 who are registered outside of the district. Brings us to a close, the activity briefing. Thank you all for your attendance.